The Vedas tell a wonderful story about a boy named Peyoli who loved Gopal Krishna as his best friend. Once upon a time, long, long ago, a young boy named Peyoli lived with his mother in a simple hut on the edge of a village, but near a beautiful forest. Peyoli's mother was a poor widowed Brahmin, but she loved her son dearly. When Peyoli was 5 years old, it was time for him to start school. A Brahmin invited Peyoli to attend his classes each day. However, the school was on the other side of the deep forest. This meant that Peyoli would have to walk a long way each day. But he was very excited to do this. So when the morning arrived for his first day at school, his mother wrapped some cooked rice in a cloth, and with her blessings, Peyoli happily left home. Peyoli walked through the forest, and when he reached the other side, his school teacher welcomed him and invited him to sit with the other boys. They began their lessons listening to the Brahmin. Peyoli listened carefully, and soon he was learning his letters and numbers. The other boys were all from wealthy Brahmin families, but they welcomed Peyoli and shared their lunches together. At the end of the first day, Peyoli offered his respects to his teacher and began the long walk back home. It grew late, and the forest became dark. Peyoli heard many sounds he had not heard when he had played on the edge of the forest during the day. The hooting of owls and the growling of large animals frightened him. Peyoli began running along the path and finally reached his house. His mother was waiting for him. She became very disturbed at the anxious look on her son's face. "My dear Peyoli, what is the matter? Didn't you like school?" Peyoli looked at her with relief because he was home. "Oh, Mother, school was fun, but as I was walking home, I became very afraid. I cannot go to school again. I cannot walk through the forest alone." Peyoli's mother gently replied, "My dear Peyoli, you are never alone. Your best friend Gopal is always with you. When you walk through the forest tomorrow, and if you feel fearful or lonely, just call out to your friend." Peyoli was comforted, but also intrigued. The next morning, Peyoli waved goodbye to his mother as he set off for school. He laughed at the squirrel as it scampered up the tree, and smiled at the shy deer who stopped eating grass as he walked by. Soon Peyoli reached school. At the end of the day, he began his journey home. But as night had begun to arrive and the forest was starting to be dark, Peyoli's fears returned. Remembering his mother's words, Peyoli called out, "Gopal, Gopal, I'm afraid. Please help me. Please protect me." Hearing the sound of a young boy's friendly laugh, Peyoli turned around and saw Gopal standing there, smiling at him. Peyoli ran to his friend Gopal and felt safe. Every day from then on, Peyoli met his friend, and together they walked and played in the forest. Gopal was Peyoli's best friend. One day at school, the teacher announced that the following day was the end of that school year. At lunchtime, Peyoli's class friends gathered to discuss the presents that they were going to give their teacher the next day. When Peyoli reached home that night, he asked his mother what present he could take for his teacher. She looked very sad. The next morning, as Peyoli prepared to leave, his mother said, "My dear son, we are very poor. I have nothing to give your teacher. I'm so sorry." Later that morning, as Peyoli was walking through the forest with Gopal, Gopal asked him, "Peyoli, why do you look so sad?" "Oh, Gopal, I have no present to give my school teacher, and he has been so kind to me." Holding out his hand, Gopal said, "Here, Peyoli, take this pot of milk for your teacher." "Oh, Gopal, you are so wonderful, thank you," said Peyoli happily. Later that day, when all the boys were gathered, one by one they gave their teacher presents, including sweets, books, and even musical instruments. Peyoli was the last child to step forward, and when he gave his teacher the simple pot of milk, all the boys laughed. The teacher chastised them. Then turning to Peyoli, he said, "I think I'm getting thirsty. I would like to have a drink of milk." Peyoli smiled and poured some milk into his teacher's bowl. But when he looked into the small pot, it was still full. The boys and the teacher were amazed and asked Peyoli to fill up another bowl. Again, the pot remained full. All the boys became excited as Peyoli filled up their bowls with the sweetest milk they had ever tasted. The boys drank as much milk as their little tummies could hold, and still the pot was full. The teacher asked Peyoli, "Where did you get this pot of milk?" Peyoli replied, "From my best friend Gopal." The teacher then asked rather mysteriously, "Can I meet your friend Gopal?" Peyoli gladly agreed, and the boys watched as their teacher and Peyoli walked into the forest. After some time, Peyoli saw Gopal and excitedly ran to him and said, "Gopal, here is my teacher." But the teacher was looking at Peyoli strangely and asked, Where is your friend Gopal?" Peyoli looked at Gopal and then looked at the teacher. "But teacher, can't you see my friend? He is standing right here." The teacher walked away angry that Peyoli had tried to trick him. Peyoli asked Gopal, "Why can't my teacher see you, or hear you, or even just believe that you are there?" Gopal replied, "My dear Peyoli, your teacher's only interest in coming here was to find a magic pot that he could own. A person can only see me with the eyes of faith and love. Namaste."